right, so welcome back, everybody, to our latest episode of The Nest, and we are now in Week 7 of the 2022 NFL season, and the Patriots are coming off of a 38-15 win over the Cleveland Browns to improve to 3-3, and now they will return to Gillette Stadium as they welcome in the Chicago Bears for a Monday Night Football matchup tomorrow, and kickoff is scheduled for 8:15 p.m. ET, and we will talk about the Patriots matchup tomorrow against Chicago, as well as kind of recap last week's win over Cleveland. And we will also talk about the strong start from both the Celtics and the Bruins. And we will also discuss a little bit about today's T20 matchup, which saw the Indian cricket team defeat Pakistan. So we will talk about all of that today. And joining me for today's episode are Nirban Chakraborty and Rohan Venkatesh. How is everyone doing?
Good as always. And of course, I'm rocking my India jersey today because
huge win.
It's a crucial victory in a group stage World Cup match. But anytime it's against Pakistan, that's a huge deal. Pakistan played well, but but at the end it was a great performance by both teams and a little bit of luck when India's way in the last over. But it was like
I could not believe that.
Even if you think about all the wild twists and turns that happen in any India-Pakistan match, I don't think I've seen anything like this before. Pretty much you had essentially 48 required from the last three overs. Of course, I mean, if you go back way earlier in the match, the Indian bowlers, they look pretty strong. I mean, they kept Pakistan to a 159 total. And in a T20 match, I mean, 10 years ago, that would have been considered like a normal total. But just the way that scoring and offense has gone up so much.
I was so surprised by that, like 159. I was thinking like 180, 190, even like 200. But how did you hold them to 159? That's remarkable.
That's the thing. 200 is typical if you're. I mean, it's not unheard of if you're playing on the subcontinent or even the UAE for that matter. I mean, they played a lot of matches in Dubai and like even in Sharjah in the past. But but now you're playing at the MCG. You're in Australia and you're playing on a bigger ground, and that means that fielding all of a sudden becomes a lot more important. It's not like on every single ball it's either wicket, boundary, boundary. It's not like that. The field placements matter a lot more, and holding Pakistan to a total 159 by the Indian bowlers seemed like a good feat at the time. And early on, I was thinking one of the main batters to watch for Pakistan was going to be Babar Azam, their captain. If you're able to disrupt that initial partnership of Babar Azam and Mohammad Rizwan, then basically you pretty much like derailed a good portion of the Pakistani batting attack. And that's pretty much what the Indian bowlers were able to do after dismissing Azam early on a crucial LBW call. And then after that, I mean, the Pakistani lineup was kind of able to get it along. I mean, once Iftikhar Ahmed came on, he was able to put up a half century. But holding Pakistan to 159 was crucial, and it proved to be extremely crucial at the end. And even though it looked kind of optimistic for India at the time, once the team switched sides and once India came up to bat, it looked ugly from an Indian perspective. I got to admit, Rohit Sharma once he stepped into the crease, I mean, he didn't really last long. And like Surya Kumar Yadav, I mean, like he didn't have a great innings either. Akshar Patel, I mean, like, they lost a lot of like really early wickets and some stupid wickets even. Calling for the single when he didn't really communicate with the non-striker and then taking a run out. That was just so I mean we kind of reached a point where you're at the halfway point of the innings, near the halfway point of the innings, and India were barely at like 60 or something like that. They needed like 100-ish in the last 10 overs. I mean, it reached a point where they required 10 and over, 12 and over, and I was tracking the win probabilities just, because this is what I like to do, right? And at its low point, the Indian win probability, I believe, was in the 12th or 13th over of the India innings, and the Indian win probability was around 12 or 13%. But then back came Virat Kohli and the Indian batting attack, and that crucial partnership near the end with Virat Kohli and Hardik Pandya, able to slap some sixers and get some crucial fours. Maybe not a lot of them, but of course this is the MCG, so it's going to be a lower scoring game. They got just enough, but I think the last over was really just one for the ages. I mean, they needed something like 16 or something like that. For like, actually no, I think they pretty much. I don't remember the exact score, but they needed even more than that. But the way that Babar Azam for Pakistan had organized the bowling attack, he pretty much set it up so that Mohammad Nawaz, the spinner, would pretty much be covering the 20th over. And once you have spinners covering the death overs, that's a big gamble, right? Because spinners, it's either they dismiss everyone, or they just they get crushed. And that's pretty much happened in the final over. But there are also a lot of self-inflicted wounds on the Pakistan side. There were some wides bowled. Of course, that's easily preventable. And then of course there was a 6 that was called as a no ball, and this is probably a controversial call. It was slightly high, and the umpire called it a no ball. And then the ensuing free hit that happened after that, he was bowled on that one. Of course, it was a free hit, so even if you're bowled, you're not out. But of course, there was a little bit of controversy, and the Pakistani side wanted to appeal. They ended up not doing it, but it turns out that even if it's the stumps on a free hit, it's not a dead ball as they thought it was, and it pretty much came down to the last ball. It really came down to the last ball because there was a dismissal on the second to last ball, and then on the final delivery, you had Ravichandran Ashwin, really just a bowler who has like really no reputation as being a good batter. But all he needed was one. He needed one from the final ball. The scores were already level, and he just chipped one, and that was pretty much enough to finish it off. And I don't like in all these years, I don't think I've seen a finish like this one. It's definitely a crucial win for India, especially in the. I know it's only the group stage, but considering their other opponents are the likes of Bangladesh and South Africa, which are, I would say, not as strong as Pakistan, but you never know. You got to take every opponent seriously. But for India, their next match is against the Netherlands, which I think, barring some sort of major catastrophe, I think they should be able to take care of business over there. They were not placed in the other group because the other group has all the tough teams. They got England in that group, Australia and New Zealand. So that would have been a tougher group to be placed in, because only 2 advanced to the semifinals, and that means England, New Zealand, and Australia. One of them is going to miss the semifinals, and that's heartbreaking, because all of them are strong teams, as they've shown in the last few years. But great win for India. But considering that they had a 64% win probability before the match, don't take Pakistan lightly. They're a good team. They're an up and coming team. They're a resurgent team, and they got a lot of talent. And it's going to be a great tournament from this point onwards.
Yeah, definitely. I was also glad to see Virat Kohli have one of the best games of his career. I would probably go that far. So it was great to see him kind of assert his stamp as one of the best cricketers in the world.
Oh, yeah, and he's back. And he's back because he recently lost the captaincy to Rohit Sharma. I don't want to say it's because of his recent struggles, but you can't help but think that might have been a factor. But Rohit Sharma, I mean, he wasn't really able to do much, and Kohli proved himself to be the king of clutch today. So I really think he's pretty much cemented himself in Indian history. And the way his career is going, he's pretty much set to break most of the records of the legendary Sachin Tendulkar. So give him a few more years, and he's going to be up there. He's definitely a legend in the making.
Yeah, definitely. No, it was great to see India come through, and yeah, it will be a very exciting T20 tournament. Going to be looking forward to the rest of the matches.
Chuck the India.
Yes, definitely. Yep. That was our cricket coverage. Obviously, we hope to have more of it going forward, especially if one of our other panel members who unfortunately couldn't make it today, Sid Anand, if he can come on, we would love to have more of this discussion. But that will be it for at least this episode. So anyways, great win by India. And now let's move on to another great win for the Patriots back on Sunday. Pretty dominant effort, 38-15 over Cleveland. So let's talk about this now. What are some positives you take from the win against the Browns, and like things that can be applied to tomorrow's matchup against the Bears?
I mean, I got to say, Zappi's got to be one of the main highlights. I mean,
Zappi. So are you sure that Zappi will start tomorrow, though?
He's not going to. We already have news on that it's going to be Mac Jones tomorrow. But if you just look at his record, I mean, he's 24 for 34. He had 309 yards, 2 TDs. I think that pretty much says a lot in terms of like the role that you're playing, especially when you're coming as a third string. But even if he weren't a third string, I think this could be potentially the quarterback of the future. He's proven himself to be strong enough that he could potentially alternate with Mac Jones if need be. I don't think that Belichick really has to go with one QB or the other. I think he has the luxury of he's spoiled for choice at this point. I think that's a great problem to have. But I think the other strong points was that the defense, as always, was strong. I mean, they put a lot of pressure on Jacoby Brissett, and they picked him off twice. I mean, that pick by Kyle Duggar pretty early on, it was I think that was crucial in terms of setting the tone. And of course, I can't help but congratulate Bill Belichick for getting win number 324. So that puts him at number 2 on the all-time list. So congratulations, Belichick, for that. So overall, is a comprehensive win, and I'm looking to see a similar performance against the Bears tomorrow.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. I think the Patriots defense really showed up again, and I'm guessing a lot of people are seeing some repeats of last season kind of coming along with the favorable fixture list and the defense really heating up this season. I want to actually point out Tyquan Thornton as the player I was really excited about from the Browns game. I think, he was one of the people we were really excited to see coming out of the draft class, really speedy receiver. We thought he'd be a great deep threat. And of course, started the season with an injury. So to come back with 2 touchdown performances, I think that was really exciting. And what I really liked is that I feel that he was kind of slotting into Kendrick Bourne's role from last season pretty well, where he was kind of doing gadget plays. One of his touchdowns was actually, I think, on a jet sweep type of rushing style, which really suits him given his speed. But even then, I mean, his very first catch from Bailey Zappi, he had maybe 6 or 7 yards after contact, right? So that was also pretty nice to see. So I'm hoping his role only grows from here. I mean, he had around 30 to 40 receiving yards with the touchdown, but also had a rushing touchdown coupled with that. So unfortunately, it looks like Kendrick Bourne's days in New England are coming to an end. So yeah, I would definitely wish him the best there. He was one of my favorite players from last year. But on the bright side, we do have Tyquan Thornton coming in, and he looks more than ready to take over that role. So we'll see what he does against the Bears.
Yeah, so specifically, I mean, I really like Thornton. I mean, the rushing touchdown he scored too was very impressive just because he just sort of burst out the Jets all of a sudden and just completely lost the defender on that touchdown run, so which I really liked. And he's been really good overall in the first 2 games. So I'm excited for him tomorrow. But really the one player I kind of want to really zone in on yesterday, or last weekend, who I thought was very good and it's very promising is Hunter Henry. He scored his first touchdown of the season on Sunday and 4 catches for 61 yards and a touchdown. Those are kind of the Hunter Henry numbers we've come to expect from him from last season. So it was really good to see him involved and get back into scoring touchdowns. And hopefully with Mac Jones coming back, Henry was Mac Jones's favorite red zone target a year ago. So now with at least the offense sort of getting more confident again, I'm hoping with Mac Jones coming back that Hunter Henry can continue to get better every week. So that's really the big positive I'd like to just highlight for tomorrow's matchup. Obviously, yeah, I'm very happy with the defense and everything like that, but I'm very also glad to see that the offense is starting to get better and better. 38 points against Cleveland, 29 against Detroit. Now you're starting to get back to at least what we saw sort of last year in the middle half of the year. So that's a good sign. I guess for the next question then, for like what things you want them to improve on, like obviously, like I mean, a 38-15 win, you do have to sort of kind of be a little critical sometimes to really find something. I guess the one thing I will say is, at one point it was 24-15, right? And you were actually giving the Browns the ball back, and then they muffed the punt, and then you got a touchdown on a short field. But briefly, I thought that they kind of played a little sloppy near the end. They sort of allowed sort of the Browns to potentially get back into it, but the Browns made, of course, too many mistakes late, and they were sort of able to like not really capitalize. But that I didn't really like the end of it.
And I think it almost culminated in that onside kick, which pretty much came.
Yeah, that was bad. That almost was pretty bad.
That like which the Patriots almost didn't recover. I mean, they had to really look at the replay and say that he was out of bounds. But if you're not able to recover an onside kick, that's pretty bad. Honestly, like even if it sounds like I'm totally picking on them, because it's really hard to pick on them when you have a 38-15 victory. If you can't recover an onside kick, that basically means that even if you score late, if you're giving the other team a chance to potentially get the ball back in their own offensive zone, that they're you're letting the other team back into it. And as you said, it was 24-15 at one time, and they could have very easily gotten back into it, and they almost did. And I don't know, this is another like super minor thing. I know I like to talk about like just like general play discipline. I mean, there were 6 penalties that the Patriots took, which was like before the snap, and which led to delayed game penalties, and which it didn't hurt them at the time, but in a closer game that potentially could have hurt.
I mean, look, these are all valid criticisms, right? Like even if it's not impacting them for one game. As you're saying, like these are bad habits that you just sort of pick up over time, right? So it's better to eliminate these early, especially in blowouts.
But it's good to notice these things when you're winning by a lot, when it's not hurting you, so that you can work on it and clean it up before it does become a problem.
Yeah, agreed. No, I mean, I don't think it's ever like I don't think you ever need to say, oh, like this is too much criticism, because these are all things that they need to work on. They're not that type of team that we know from the past with Brady and Belichick. They're not the dominant team anymore, so they don't have as much room for error as they did.
Putting up 38 points, that's something.
Yeah, I mean, last year they put up 45 against the Browns. So
yeah,
I mean, that's the thing, right? Like they've shown kind of that they're good enough to basically beat up on these mediocre to bad teams, but the teams they struggle against are the good teams, or teams that we at least thought were good until we saw them sort of play other teams like the Packers, who look pretty bad now. So that's the thing,
the Bucks.
Right? Like,
although the Patriots haven't played
year.
the Bucks yet, but the Bucks are tanking this year.
But that was last year.
Last
year the Buccaneers were good. I mean, last year, if you put into comparison,
I don't think I've ever seen any kind of like this kind of fall from grace, at least especially on Brady's part.
Yeah, no, that is definitely something like that has been kind of surprising to see this year. Like the Buccaneers and the Packers both 3-4 right now, and seeing the Giants as 6-1, that's a very surprising kind of story.
Well, one person on this panel did leave out the Green Bay Packers from the playoffs, so just putting that out there.
Oh, it is still early, so let's not forget that it is still just week 7, and teams can come back from 3-4.
And I mean, the Eagles are still perfect. That's another surprise.
Yeah, no, this NFL season has had.
We didn't get to see them this week since they had a bye week, but they're going to be playing the Steelers next week.
Yeah, no, there have been a lot of great storylines, but yeah, let's just move back. Just talk about the Bears a little bit tomorrow. Obviously, the Bears are coming off of a 12-7 loss to the Washington Commanders last Thursday night. And yeah, obviously the offense doesn't look very good, but I guess if there was one player on the Bears offense who you're going to expect Justin Fields to really target tomorrow, who would it be?
I don't think there's really a lot of focus on who's going to target, because just the offense overall hasn't really been that great for the Bears. If they are to do something offensively, I think it's going to be with the run game. So I think the number one offensive threat would have to be Khalil Herbert. He's got 6.4 yards per carry, and because the Bears tend to rely heavily on the run game, I think they're going to turn to him a lot. So I think the run defense should focus on him.
Yeah, I'm guessing the Bears' whole play style this year has been around their run game with Montgomery and Herbert, who actually are, I'd say, one of the more elite running back committees in the league. Though we are seeing that more and more. It looks like every team these days has a great committee. I mean, the Jets, the Patriots, so on and so forth. But anyway, I actually think that that Bill Belichick's defense whole strategy is gonna be make Justin Fields throw the ball. Do not give them running lanes. Like, do whatever, cover 2 safety, whatever you have to do. Make him throw the ball to beat you, right? That's kind of what we see when Bill Belichick goes against really good running backs. And in that lens, I mean, like Rohan said, I think the Bears offense has really struggled to find momentum, especially in the passing game. One thing I did mention last time, I think on the preview, was the Patriots' propensity this year for giving up really big yardage passing plays. We actually saw that with Donovan Peoples-Jones actually against them last week. And I'd say that's really where Justin Fields' biggest threat lies, his ability to kind of get a couple really big completions. So we saw Mooney, for example, Darnell Mooney got a 39-yard long pass against Minnesota. We saw even against the Commanders that that Fields actually had a completion of 40 yards to Dante Pettis and 26 to Darnell Mooney. So I guess it's one of those things. I'd kind of repeat what I said with the Browns, that just, be careful, because you don't want to be in a position where you give a guy like Mooney a 30-40 yard catch and then anything can happen to get into field goal range. But I would say in general that I would expect the Patriots defense to be more than a match for the Bears offense.
Yeah, I was going to say Mooney as well. So I guess nothing really much else to add. I think overall the Patriots run defense is going to I think the Patriots run defense will probably limit the Bears run game overall. Like last week against a pretty good Browns running back group, Chubb and Hunt, they basically only allowed 70 rushing yards total. So I think they're going to basically try to eliminate Montgomery and Herbert, and they're going to basically try to force Justin Fields to throw a lot. So we'll see what happens from there. And I guess just moving on to the last, question before the score prediction. Which Patriots player, offense or defense, are you expecting to see a big game from? I guess on my end, I'm going to expect a big game from Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones is pretty pumped up, especially hearing all the noise recently about Bailey Zappi potentially being the starter and everything like that. I think Mac Jones is going to come up fired up. And also, here's the one thing to just note. The last time Mac Jones played Justin Fields was in the college football championship game in 2021, his final game as a member of the Alabama Crimson Tide. And he beat Ohio State, where Justin Fields was the quarterback at the time. So in a way, Mac Jones and Justin Fields, they have some history going back all the way to college. They played each other in the college championship. And don't forget, in 2021, Mac Jones was picked 11th overall. Oh, sorry, Justin Fields was picked 11th overall, and Mac Jones was picked 15th. So Mac Jones has a slight already of being kind of selected after Justin Fields, and now he has all this extra noise he's heard about Bailey Zappi sort of coming for his job. I think Mac Jones, I'm expecting a big game from him tomorrow. So that's my pick. I'm excited to see how he does and kind of responds to everything.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how Mac Jones is going to perform in his first game back. I would say that's the obvious choice in terms of who to pay most attention to on the Pats. But if Mac Jones is going to have a successful game, it's going to be because his receivers have a good game as well. And that's why I'm going with Devontae Parker, because he's played a key role in a lot of receptions in the few games that Zappi's played. So I'm curious to see how he's going to be able to gel with Mac Jones back in the lineup. So if I'm keeping an eye on anyone on the Pats, it's Devontae Parker.
Yeah, I think these are definitely valid points. I do actually think we're probably not going to see a huge game from Mac Jones, and the reason being, the Bears have the second lowest passing yardage allowed as a defense, and the reason for that is because they have the third highest rushing yards allowed as a defense. So, I mean, it seems like it's been pretty clear this year that it's very that if you're going to try to go against the Bears, you probably want to have a lot of rushing yardage plays. So that's why I am predicting we're going to see a lot of Ramondre Stevenson. We saw his 2-touchdown performance, obviously, against the Browns. I think at this point it's pretty clear that he can go toe-to-toe with a lot of running defenses in the league. So I'm expecting that. I also do want to point out, actually, that now that Tyquan Thornton's also back, and I think after his 2-touchdown performance, he's definitely going to at least get a lot more respect from the Bears secondary on plays they do pass. That opens a lot of room for players like Jacoby Myers, Hunter Henry. Jonnu Smith had 2 catches for 61 yards to get involved in the game. I mean, one thing we were always saying about the Patriots was that we didn't quite have a number one guy, but I think if you let a guy like Jacoby Myers get open, and if you have other players who are threats for receiving the ball, then I think we can expect a big game from him too when there are opportunities for it.
Yep, sounds good. So final segment, always the fun part, the score prediction. So who are we picking?
So with this one, I'm just gonna get out there and say that Patriots should win pretty comfortably. I think the offense is gonna be able to put up at least 30 points on the board. I think they can put up 32, and I think the Bears offense has been struggling. I think defense is going to hold them to 10. I'm going to go with 32-10 New England on this one. And if you're comparing that to the betting markets, I mean, it's a plus 290 on the money line for the Bears and a minus 375 for the Patriots. So the betting markets are strongly favoring the Patriots as well. And the over-under on this one is 40.5. So if you look at it from that perspective, I'm going over on this one, just because I think that the Patriots offensive attack is just going to pretty much demolish the Bears. There's no other polite way of putting this, but recently, in the last 2 games, Vegas has been wrong in the sense that they underestimated the point totals, and if you look at that as a trend, I think it's not too outlandish to say that it's going to be over this time as well, unless there's some sort of reversion to the mean. But that's just how the betting markets work. But that's my pick for the game.
Yeah, it's also it is very difficult for me to see an outcome other than a Patriots victory here. Knock on wood. I hope I don't have to eat my words next week. But yeah, I mean, this Bears offense has struggled. They scored 7 points against the Washington Commanders last week. I really see this as the kind of game where the Patriots kind of run away with it. And honestly, if anything, in regard to Rohan's point, it might just be that we let them maybe get some consolation points to end it. So I'm gonna say maybe 31-14 with maybe a consolation touchdown for the Bears. So the Patriots win 31-14.
Yeah, I'm surprised that for a matchup like this that it would be on a Monday night, but that's how the TV schedules work.
Yeah,
I honestly
okay.
think that there were some better matchups for the Patriots in the past that could have been on national TV, but I guess ESPN chose this one.
Yeah, I also agree. Patriots 27, Bears 10. That's my prediction. So
So actually, so that means of all of us, I have the most lopsided prediction in favor of the Patriots, and I'm usually the one who's most wary of saying that the Patriots are going to win. Yeah, this is interesting to see it flip this time. I'm curious to see how right or potentially embarrassingly wrong all of us are going to be next week. I think last week we all predicted that the Patriots were going to win. That ended up happening. So I guess we're good over there. But next week we'll have to check it again and see how we did.
yeah, definitely. Okay, yeah. So all of us predict the Patriots win. And okay, so now we usually don't get to do this as much during football season, but we have some opportunity now with both the Boston Bruins and Boston Celtics both playing really well. So we're going to talk about the Bruins a little bit. 5-1 start, very impressive. And despite Brad Marchand being injured, I think Linus Allmark, it's been great to see him stepping up at goaltender. I am a little bit kind of concerned about the defense allowing a lot of goals per game, but they seem like they are also scoring a lot. So, I mean, overall, it's been great. And I'm also just very happy to see it's not just Pasternak and Bergeron. AJ Greer has been scoring 3 goals this season. DeBrusk has 2 goals. Foligno has 3 goals. So it's not just simply Pasternak and Pasternak, Bergeron, and Marchand who are scoring. You're getting contributions from the whole team, which is very encouraging. And that's a sign of a contending team. So, I mean, so far, look, Jim Montgomery has done everything right. I was very kind of critical of Bruce Cassidy being let go, but I also did make it known on the podcast that Jim Montgomery would have to earn the respect and the trust from everyone. And so far, he's doing a great job with that. So great job, Jim Montgomery.
I gotta say, so far he's definitely earned it so far. I mean, and when you have a team like this, an offense like this, where you were to get scoring from like 3, 4, 5 different guys, and not just have to rely on like a couple of them. That core of Bergeron, Marchand. Of course, Marchand's not there now because he's injured right now. When you're able to get it from so many different sources, I think that really diversifies your attacking potential. And even if the defense kind of has been like from a stats perspective a little bit down in the league.
That Ottawa game was
I think that one probably skewed it because they allowed 5 goals in that game.
7.
Actually 7. Yeah, they scored 5. Yeah,
it was 7-5, right?
Yeah. That was a chaotic game. It was like that was like they went down 3-0, then they tied it 3-3 before the end of the period, and that whole thing was like such a slugfest that you rarely see in hockey. But I guess maybe in the regular season, maybe you'll see it every once in a while. But that last game on Saturday that they had against the Wild, that was an epic game with almost had a playoff atmosphere.
Yep.
Taylor Hall with the game winner with Kirill Kaprizov in the box, and of course, like the Bruins had many chances before that. Of course, they were leading. They were leading by 2, and then they slowly let the Wild back in the game, and then the Wild took some penalties late, and of course, the whole thing started with a shorthanded goal that the Wild scored pretty early on. All of this in the aftermath of the pregame retirement ceremony that they gave for Zdeno Chara. So that was a game that pretty much had a mix of everything. But in the end, it was another victory. And once you have a 5-1 start and you're near the top of the league, you can't really. It's hard to really complain about that. Actually, not even near the top. I think they are the top team in the league.
Yeah, 10 points. Yep.
So in terms of goals per game, they're third in the league. They're trailing Pittsburgh, who are leading the league at 5 goals per game. They've been like on offensive tear. But I think that this team offensively pretty much has close to nothing to worry about. Defensively, maybe that might be the Achilles heel. But I think Jim Montgomery's
here's the thing about defense,
the goaltending,
right?
The goaltending decisions. I think putting Ullmark in there is giving us our best shot to win the games. I mean, no disrespect to Swayman, but I think Olmark has pretty much been holding up the fort.
Oh yeah, Olmark has been excellent. I mean, his save percentage right now, 93.8%, which is actually 8th in the league overall. So Linus Olmark right now is a top 10 goalie in the National Hockey League.
So that's got to mean that the problem has to be allowing shots, which is a dig at the defense, not the goalies.
Exactly. I think the defense is honestly more of an issue because if you're considering that Olmark is basically 8th overall in like basically shot saves, like saves made, then basically the defense is allowing way too many shots. And that's why they're giving up so many goals because naturally, right, the more shots you give up over time, the defense or goaltender is going to get
some of them are going to go in.
So that's the thing.
True.
I'm actually not as worried about Olmark. I think Olmark has actually done a terrific job. It's just the defense needs to basically give him more support.
That's
I guess
a good
Olmark
point.
is one of the weird cases where it's like goals against average is probably going to be up there, which is going to make him not look so good. But if you look for it from a save percentage, it's like one of the best in the league. So it's kind of an anomaly over there. So this is going to be a wild hockey season. We're going to have to see how the next few months play out. But Anirban, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to add to that. I mean, I think part of it is like you were mentioning. I think Joe Montgomery has come in and really emphasized the offense in the kind of playing style of the Bruins, like really move fast, play fast, score fast kind of style. And actually, Taylor Hall of Nesson actually yesterday was speaking about the impact of the Bruins' speedy play style and how they've been really intentional on offense about really, not only playing as like with their own acceleration, but really, doing quick passes, not really giving the defense time to settle in. And they did concede that sometimes that does lead to some problems on defense when you get caught out because you kind of go forward with everything without necessarily tracking back the same amount. So I think that does explain why you're getting higher score lines like 4-3 against the Wild. But yeah, at the end of the day, Jim Montgomery, he knows what he's doing. And it sounds like the players really buy into that. Taylor Hall, of course, like you mentioned, not only 1 goal, but he had 2 assists in that Wild game. So I guess it's part of the growing pains with a new kind of offensive style. But honestly, it seems to be working for them right now. So now it's really, I think, keeping that same offensive firepower while also still having the discipline to get back quickly when you need to.
Yeah, Jim Montgomery has done a terrific job overall. So yeah, definitely. I think overall, I know Jim, easy confusion sometimes happens. 98.5 actually has both Jim Murray and a Joe Murray, just for reference. All good. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's going to be very exciting just because on Tuesday, they're playing the Dallas Stars, who are 4-0-1 on the season. So that's going to be a very good matchup between 2 star-studded teams, 2 of the best teams in the National Hockey League at this point. Sounds nice to say that again, right? That the Bruins are one of the best teams in the NHL. I haven't said that in a while. 3 years.
We'll see if we feel the same way come April.
Yeah, but you know what? After the way like the past few seasons have gone, I'll take what I'm seeing right now. Even if it is early, like having a strong foundation is always good.
I have to really think back. Like, when was the last time that the Bruins had as strong as this one? I probably have to go back to
2019
the lockout season. But 2019, yeah, that was a strong start as well.
They got to the Stanley Cup.
But I do remember in the 2012-13 season, of course, just 2013 because the 2012 part was locked out. I think they went like close to 20 games or something without a regulation loss or something like that. It was like
and that team also made it to the Stanley Cup final.
So yeah, I guess anything can happen at this point.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, yeah. So far, it's been great for the Bruins. So hopefully they keep it up. So let's now talk about the other team at the Garden, the Boston Celtics, who are also 3-0, undefeated, and with a new head coach as well, Joe Mazzulla. And there you go, Joe. There is a Joe here.
Yeah.
So, but overall,
Joe Mazzulla and Jim Montgomery.
Yeah, but honestly, I've been very happy with the Celtics overall. Like, I mean,
colleagues at the Garden.
Yeah, big win against the Sixers, and then they beat Miami, and then
that win against the Sixers. That was a good one.
Yeah,
that was a really good one, especially on opening
Orlando
night
yesterday. I also
against the team that I actually had preseason winning it all. I mean, I probably still stand by that. I think the Sixers are pretty strong. I mean, once they have James Harden and Joel Embiid, I mean, that team may look weak right now, but it's only a matter of time before they're resurgent.
Yeah, I mean, I think Philadelphia is definitely a great team, and then Miami. Obviously, they played Miami last year in the conference finals, won 7 games, and then I also want to just mention the win against Orlando yesterday was a very impressive win, just because it's on the second night of a back-to-back. And Orlando is not a very good team in general, right? So naturally, you don't really always.
They did allow 120, so maybe.
Yeah, but Al Horford was out, and it's also a back-to-back, right? So because they ended up winning the game.
Tatum put up a 40 spot though, so
Tatum has been incredible to start the season. He has been an MVP frontrunner at this point. I would probably say like he's up there. I mean, 3-0, averaging 35 points a game. He has been outstanding to start the season. Put him
JT
37.
Zero, man. JT Zero is the man.
And Derek White had 27 points too. Don't forget that. So,
Oh yeah.
So all of a sudden, this team is rolling right now. It is just really fun to watch, especially with Joe Mazzulla.
It sounds like no Emi Udoka. What? Like no coach, no problem. Or new coach, no problem.
Well, the thing with Mazzulla is at least Mazzulla was an assistant coach for the past few years. So he at least knew like the system pretty well. He knows Tatum and Brown, and Tatum has actually spoken highly of Mazzulla. I think back in June, he spoke of him pretty highly.
And also, given the fact that the Celtics have been able to pretty much keep it going without skipping a beat, and given the recent internal quarrels and turmoil within the Warriors organization, if the same dynamic holds up come springtime, and it's, I don't know, Celtics potentially Warriors again, I don't know. The script might be flipped.
I will say this. I will probably go on the record right now and say this. If the Celtics and Warriors play again in the NBA Finals, the Celtics will win the series in 5 games this time.
In 5?
Yeah.
In 5.
This time it will be different because last year...
In 5. That's not just winning. That's dominating.
Yes, because last year what happened was, here was the thing, right? The consensus was the Celtics were the more talented team.
We at least pushed to the 6 games last time.
But here's the thing. Okay, last year the Celtics were considered the more talented team, but they didn't have the experience. Golden State was in their 6 finals, right? And this was the Celtics first. The experience isn't an issue anymore. Tatum and Brown have played in the NBA Finals. They know they can do it now.
And the Warriors' talent, while it's still up there, it's on the decline.
They're a great team too. Look, I mean, if it is Celtics Warriors, I think,
they're
maybe
still
6
up there.
games.
Don't get me wrong, they're still up there, but
I would feel very confident about a rematch.
They're not as good as they were a few years ago. So I mean, they could still win it all, but they're not this giant that's 10 foot tall. They're definitely beatable.
Yeah, exactly. So I would say the Celtics can definitely beat Golden State in a rematch, but we'll see. Long way to go. Obviously, I don't want to like go and say like that for sure this is going to happen. They have to still beat Milwaukee. Milwaukee is going to be a very tough team, and that's probably going to be the team they're going to have to get by again.
I'm more worried about Philly, honestly.
Did you see Philly the last few games? They look awful.
Yes. They look bad now.
They look
bad. They look bad now, but any team that has both Harden and Joel Embiid on it, you can't discount them.
Yeah, I gotta say, I mean, 3 games into the season, right? I mean, it took half a year for the Celtics to get their act together last year.
Yeah, okay, but that was different. That was with a different coach.
Definitely different.
That was with the new coach integrating the system in. Embiid and Harden, what excuse do they have? Last year they had Doc Rivers,
I mean,
right?
3 games in, right? Like, ask me about it in 2 months. I think we'll see a lot more. But if I could just add really quickly, I think one thing that we've seen is Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown came ready to play this year, right? They actually just broke the record recently. I think they were the first. It was the first time like 2 Celtics players scored each 25 points in 2 games. I think the last time people did was Robert Parrish and Larry Bird in 84-85 season, right? So you look at Jason Tatum, like you mentioned, he's averaged 30, almost 35 points a game the last couple, and meanwhile Jaylen Brown's averaged 25, and I mean they've both been really dialed in. I mean we've even seen some improvements so far from that regard. I mean Tatum's field goal percentage has been like 59%. He has like a little more. Both him and Jaylen Brown are averaging at least I think 1 block more per game just to start. And again, first 3 games. But my point is that this is a really great start. And look, compared to to refer to your point, Amartya, I mean compared to how long it took them to gel last season, I mean this is fantastic because how many times last season do we see them going toe to toe against the Bucks or other great teams, and then having a really lethargic underperformance against teams that they really should have been comfortable beating.
Well,
right?
I feel in the second half of the season we saw less of that. In the first half we saw that a lot, but once they
that's my point. The first half, I'm comparing like if we were to go back last year at this time, right? So my point is that this team looks like they're ready to play. Like, and again, to reference your point, they know how close they were last year. They know that it was in their hands to some extent. So they're ready. And, Joe Mazzulla, I think so far, I mean, he's hit the ground running too. I mean, you guys were talking about Jason Tatum speaking highly on him. I mean, so did Marcus Smart, for example. He's just mentioning how confident Joe Mazzulla's being. And Jason Tatum even recently said, one of the things they really like about Joe is that he's really honest about the fact that he's kind of new to this, that he's still figuring things out. But at the same time, he's really embraced that head coaching role, that leadership role. And I think that's a really important thing I think that is a sign of a leader who's really ready to take on the responsibility, but also is, I think, humble to acknowledge that they're still learning the process and that they're willing to work with their team to get it done. So it so far seems like it's been a great for Joe Mazzulla to be taking on this role, and we'll see what happens. During. I mean, obviously, we have to wait for some adversity that hopefully never happens, but inevitably, when you get a couple game losing streak or something, how does the team respond? But I think,
Well,
I mean,
this team faced a
anyone
lot of
would be very happy
adversity
with
the
this.
first half of last season, and they completely turned it around once the calendar flipped to 2022.
Right. My point is with Joe Mazzulla as coach, right? So again, I mean, 3 games in, I don't think you can ask for a much better of a start than this.
So for every team that that goes from slumping to peaking, there's another team that goes from peaking to slumping. I just hope that that's not us.
It might be the 76ers.
Ooh, you're
Or
probably
the
not wrong
Nets.
about that.
Or the Nets.
But yeah, anyways, yeah, it'll be interesting to sort of see. I think another thing is just against Miami on Friday, they pretty much held the lead for the most part. The one thing I also kind of liked was there was a brief period in the third quarter when Miami actually retook the lead, and the Celtics had pretty much been leading for the whole game. But the Celtics didn't really get bothered by that. They just sort of ended up playing back and into the game, and they got the lead again, and they held on to it. That shows to me, right? Like when they sort of like deal with some adversity during the game where they lose a lead or something happens where they blow like a 10-point lead, they have a turnover that leads to like a fast break dunk or some type of play. They don't get bothered by that anymore. They're just sort of able to, okay, we made the mistake, we learned from that, we moved on. That's a sign of a contending team. That's a sign of a great team. So they're showing me like overall, it's like why like when they're down in games right now or they're struggling, like even against Orlando, I wasn't overly worried, even though like it was a back and forth, very close game. I always had the confidence that they would get it done. And if they didn't get it done for whatever reason, I had confidence that they would learn from it and move on to the next game. That's what the thing, right? The losses won't be bothering me the way they would have in previous years. So
Yeah,
that's the
like
thing.
as you said, this is a talented team that's now slowly maturing. So I think that's a positive on both ends.
That's a scary sign for the rest of the league. So hopefully this continues. And just another fun thing to just sort of mention, tomorrow, we mentioned Patriots-Bears, right? Boston, Chicago. Well, it's also going to be Celtics-Bulls tomorrow. So two basically Boston-Chicago matchups.
The Bulls and the Bears are both in action against Boston.
And
And neither
hopefully
the Red Sox or the Cubs will be in the World Series, so they'll also be matching off maybe on MLB 23 the show or something.
oh, that's
Sure.
a burn.
And the Blackhawks are also
Hey,
terrible.
both the Red Sox and the Cubs, so I'm roasting both.
I am Bloom. Are you listening to this?
I highly doubt that the Red Sox are going to be competitive. I don't know. Maybe it's just my recency bias because a year ago I was saying that they're going to win it all. That obviously did not age well.
Well, to be fair, in 2021, we were not very confident that the Red Sox would make the playoffs. So
It's honestly, you never know with this team. So they
Yeah,
could
look at the
win next
Philadelphia
year, or they
Phillies.
could get last place.
the Philadelphia Phillies, just
Phillies are
made
going to the World Series.
Yeah. So in baseball, 1 year can change everything.
And barring a major collapse, they're going to be playing the Astros. And I believe Astros and Yankees, that game 4 is in delay right now.
Yeah, I believe so. But anyways, yeah, this will be our week's episode. Obviously, yeah, very eventful week, and we will be back next Sunday or Saturday, I should say, to recap the Patriots Bears game and also look forward to the New York Jets, who are actually doing pretty well too. And yeah, we'll talk about them some more. And yeah, we'll continue to talk about the Bruins and Celtics. Keep monitoring their progress as the season progresses.
And of course, later on, we should have coverage as the T20 World Cup progresses. We should have more information on that as things develop. And of course, once we calendar turns to November, once we get to around the 20th, we should also have information on the other World Cup, the big one, the Soccer World Cup. And hopefully we should have other soccer experts on our panel over here. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Qatar 2022.
Yeah. First time having a World Cup in fall, winter, of course. Anytime you have a tournament in Qatar, there's no way they're going to be able to do it in the summer. But I'm curious to see how the clubs adjust to having their season interrupted. It's just a new way of doing things, and I'm curious to see how that goes.
Yeah, definitely. But until then, enjoy the rest of your weekend, everyone. Enjoy the Sunday Night Football matchup. Enjoy playoff baseball, whatever you're watching right now. Hope you have a great time, and we will be back again next weekend. Until then, have a good one.
All right, peace.
Have a great day.